Today's episode is how wounded child energy is affecting your business. Hello and welcome to the Successful, Sensitive and Intuitive Entrepreneur podcast. My name is Lydia Sophia Wilmsen and I am an intuitive success mentor for sensitive entrepreneurs. In this podcast, I speak about the challenges sensitive and intuitive entrepreneurs face. I offer you new perspectives and solutions, as well as experiences of other entrepreneurs. Plus, I speak about my personal experience of being a highly sensitive person who has successfully built and scaled 2 businesses. All of that with the goal to make you and your business even more successful in your very unique and authentic way. Have fun and enjoy. And no, I'm not talking about your kids today, not anything in that department. I'm really talking about you, about yourself. Because I do a lot of inner child work with my clients. I do a lot of going back in times before right now. So even if they have an issue right now, they are struggling with increasing their money flow. They are struggling with basically finding more ease and peace in their business. Like many of them are super successful. And at the same time, they reach those stages where they can't go further, or where they can go further, but they basically sacrifice their happiness and their relaxation and their health because they just keep working more and more. And they don't find the way how to stop that. It's like a pattern. And with those issues, it's not about a strategy how to change that, because it comes from deeper. It comes from earlier stages. It can even go into past generations. And there are different modalities how I work with my clients to basically heal those stages and heal those parts in themselves that keep them stuck in that cycle. And one pattern is that when something happens in your business, you don't react, or you don't even act from the beginning on, in your adult version. You don't act as a healthy grown-up adult. You basically act like you regress to childhood stages. Or to childhood states. So you act as a 6-year-old. You act as a 10-year-old. If something isn't going as planned, you go crazy and you get very angry, very impatient, and you can, when you think or when you feel into that energy and ask yourself, hey, what age do I have right now? If you practice that more often, you will figure out, I'm not my grown-up version right now. I'm rather in a very, I feel very small. I feel very young. I remember also from my own business, about 1.5, 2 years ago, I was starting the process to shift to a different avatar, to a different kind of person to work with. And I always saw myself working with successful men and women, with successful, even older people than myself. And especially when it came to senior men, I really had this imagination or this image of me regressing to a child version of myself. To a little girl, I really felt myself falling back into little girl energy. And, I was a over 30-year-old woman, so I wasn't a child. But this is how I felt. And this is then also how I acted, how I behaved. That I was very timid, I was very shy, I didn't speak up, I didn't share my opinion. Also the way how I stood, I was always almost covering or cowering, not with my shoulders open. It was really how you imagine a timid little girl who's afraid to speak up. And this is just an example from my own life. And there are many different examples from clients, and you can check in with yourself. By the way, you can also check in with different areas of your life. Very often that, for example, happens in relationships. You get into a fight with your partner, and your partner responds, your partner fights back if it's a fight. And the partner is not going or not responding from a grown-up adult stage, but rather from a wounded inner child. Oh, that hurt. But you are not, this is not a conscious process. And then you also fall back into an earlier stage of yourself, and you also react as a little child. So we basically have 2 little girl and boys fighting with each other, and not grown-up versions of ourselves anymore. If you go into the world of politics, you can see that happening. There are like little girls and boys fighting. The sad thing is that this turns into international wars. So this might already give you an idea how far-fetching this is. And the same in your business. It sounds like, first of all, you perhaps thought like, wow, that's an interesting episode. What is she talking about? And let me tell you, this is a real issue. And this is something where you can change a lot when you raise those inner parts of yourself into a grown-up version of yourself. And I will speak about that later. So first of all, I want to give you distinct examples of how girl or boy energy is leading your business, or how it shows up when you're leading from a healthy grown-up way of doing things. That you get an idea of what I mean by acting from a childlike state in business. So the grown-up version is a person who is powerful, who feels powerful, who is powerful, who has the power. And a childlike version is feeling powerless. And you can check in with yourself in business. Are there times where you feel powerless? Are there times where you don't know how to shift things? Are there times where, you have the feeling someone else is taking over power-wise in your business? It might even be if you have a partnership going on, that you feel powerless and you have the feeling someone else is taking the power. Or you are at the mercy of circumstances. You feel powerless right now with the COVID situation. You don't know what to do. Like it feels like someone is taking your power away. And that is child energy. That's acting and being at a childlike state. Another one would be, can you make decisions with ease? That's a healthy grown-up version. Or do you always wait for permission? For permission to launch something new. For a permission for someone else telling you that's a good idea, go for it. For permission to raise your prices. For permission to just work half of the time. Or are you always checking in like, what are other people doing? What are other people saying? What is the right thing to do? What is the right strategy? Are you always checking in with others? How are they doing things? And basically only doing the way they do, or waiting for permission from outside sources so that you can really do what you want to do. It could also be that you always check like numerology and star signs, and you're waiting for a sign from the universe in order to go forward. Guess what? You're waiting for permission. That's a childlike stage. And of course, you can be inspired with like what is going on. But this waiting for permission to go for something where you deep inside feel a yes is not a grown-up version of yourself. The sovereign, and I call like the grown-up version is like from an archetypal standpoint is a sovereign energy, CEO energy. From that energy, you create your dream reality. Children have dreams, and so the sovereign archetype manifests those dreams. Children don't make dreams happen. They just have amazing dreams. They are all in their imagination, in their creativity, but they don't make those dreams happen. So if you fall back into your childlike energy, that's where you give up on your dreams because you're not able to manifest them. And this might show up either that you don't manifest them, or that you constantly then ask yourself like, is this really meant to be? You're not in the energy of, this is my dream, I create my dream reality. You're in the energy of like, oh my goodness, it hasn't manifested yet. It's not meant to be for me. The grown-up version, the energy of the sovereign, sources his or her power from within. Big one. What we spoke of before. One is powerful, the other one is powerless. You source your power from within versus sourcing the power or outsourcing the power for your dreams and your happiness into another's responsibility. So you give away your power to create your dreams and your happiness into the hands of another. That's a big difference. Either you know with every fiber of your being that the power comes from inside of you, or you are constantly at the mercy of circumstances, of other people, of the right timing. When you are in your sovereign energy, in your CEO energy, this is when you have achieved self-mastery, which does not mean that bad things don't happen to you anymore. However, you know how to master any situation and any emotion in yourself. And a child acts hurt and throws a tantrum when others don't show up in the way he or she expects. So this is really a big one. If something happens that you didn't expect, either a situation or a behavior, how do you show up then? How do you react? Do you get all like overwhelmed by your emotions? You get really hurt, really triggered, really sad, and basically throw a tantrum? Or have you achieved self-mastery where you can deal with those situations in a grown-up way, in a healthy grown-up way, in a sovereign energy? And this is really a big one because things happen all the time. And you can see that, like you can see a CEO of a company, like not in CEO energy, going all crazy and screaming at his colleagues and at like the people working in the company. Then you actually see a little boy acting out. And this is not self-mastery. So you can really see this in the leaders in companies. I have seen that. I have seen that happen, and it's crazy. A small, tiny thing happens and those people lose everything. They really, like you really have the feeling a little boy is jumping around and going crazy. And you can check in with yourself. If something happens, if someone criticizes you, if someone says or tells you like, no, I don't want what you have. I don't want to sign up with you. I don't want your product, or your product is shit. How do you react? Do you really get hurt? Do you really get triggered? And how do you, like, this is what happens inside of you, and how do you react to that? Do you also fall back into this stage, like depending on the criticism? If the criticism comes, if the criticism comes from a childlike stage, it can be hurtful. However, it is yours. It's the question for you. Can you stay in your power and react as an adult, naming your boundaries, saying, please don't talk in that way with me, like having boundaries. However, not going into lashing out mode as a little child would do. There is a distinct difference. And those people who basically have no control over their emotions and regress to like really early stages, they seem that they have control over others, but they have control as a little kid has, not because people like him or her or are like really interested in his or her opinion. No, because people are fearful that the little girl or little boy is going to break things. So it is power, but it is not a power of a grown-up version. It's the power of a little child where everyone is a little bit frightened. Oh gosh, is this person going to embarrass me in front of the whole people in the store or something like that? And there is a distinct difference. And this boy or girl might get the candy or might get what he or she wants, but this is that's not a place how you easily manifest things, especially not later on, because at some point you might react in a way that then really someone else says no more, like you're fired, or no more, you have to go to prison if you do like really bad things. Another point is, if you are in your sovereign energy, you are unconcerned with what's fair or allowed, because you are the source of your own power and well-being. Big one. And the child is preoccupied with fairness. Like those little kids fighting over candy and like, oh, this one has more. Like my friend, he got more candy. In that moment, they are very much present in the moment, which is a good thing. I have to say something more about this in a minute. Like little children, they fight about things and it's always about what's fair and what's allowed. And they tell other people like, oh, this person did, like this guy did this and this and this. They want validation from the grown-ups because they told what another little boy did in a bad way or behaved in a bad manner. This is childlike behavior. And you not being concerned anymore about what's fair or allowed, that's real sovereign energy. And from that, you can create worlds. Because it's not anymore, oh, look, this person made $1 million or says she made $1 million in 5 days. Why don't I make this? Like this kind of entitlement, fairness. This person has done it. Why don't I have that yet? Like, universe, what do you do against me? Why are you so against me? Like, why can't I make this happen? That's not fair. If you hear yourself very often saying that, like, that's not fair. This person is really not as good as I am, and she makes all the money, and I don't. Or this person gets all the credit, and I don't. or this person, blah, 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 gets the amazing boyfriend and I don't, or whatever it is. This is your inner child showing up. And the last one, as a sovereign or in your CEO energy, you have a developed identity and you fearlessly go for your opinions, your dreams, and your self-expression. You express yourself in a healthy way, not in this childlike tantrum thing, but in a grown-up version. You own your feelings, you own your needs, you own your opinions, and you bring them up whenever. You have your boundaries. And the child can't stand up and speak his truth. The child can't stand up and defend her opinion. You know, if there are grown-ups talking and the child says like, meh, that's my opinion, the grown-ups basically laugh. It's like, yeah, you're cute, but you don't belong to us. So if you fall into this childlike energy, people don't take you seriously and people won't hear you. So there are so many reasons why it is really important to grow up internally. Of course, physically, you're a grown-up version. And also, very important, it is not about not being playful anymore. So there are amazing parts of a child that I really want you to incorporate in your business and in your life. So it's not about being like all serious and being all work-like or in work mode and being all responsible, you know, like in this very rigid way. No, there are amazing characteristics of children, and those you can incorporate in your business and in your life. Playfulness, creativity, being in the moment, having fun, acting out your emotions. However, how you do that, do you become a child? Or do you just have access to those tools, so to say? Like, can you enjoy a very playful moment? That is what I mean with self-expression. Can you enjoy just being in the moment, not doing all the worrying stuff? Can you just enjoy the freaking present moment and just enjoying perhaps the challenge you have just overcome, the new client you have signed, like celebration. That's also childlike behavior, to celebrate, like party. They always want to, like when you think back into to your childhood, children always wanted to play some kind of fairy tale stuff. And it was a lot about celebration. So can you access those feelings and those parts of your inner child? Yes, that's amazing. And that's very different to proper regression and working or acting out as an inner child and not as a grown-up. So what to do? The work I do with my clients is basically attending to the needs of those neglected, abandoned, hurt, laughed at, and fearful parts of them. You can't just pretend it's not happening. You really have to work with those inner parts of yourself. And you have to see what are the needs of that inner part of myself. And attend to that. That's the work you have to do. You have to reconnect with your ultimate source of power, which is within you. And validating, reparenting, growing up those parts of yourself will give you one of the biggest boosts, not only in business, but for your whole life. Because people feel if you are in your power. They feel if you are mastering your emotions. They feel how you're even like embodying that. If you're standing firmly on your 2 feet while still having those childlike states of humor, of playfulness, of creativity, of being in the present moment. Like marrying those parts, healing those parts which are basically a child acting out and still incorporating those beautiful parts of children. This is key. People will react differently to you. They will take you serious because you take yourself serious. You will easily manifest what you want, and you will master those situations where it's not happening in the time you want or in the way you want. Like you are not at mercy of your circumstances anymore. And from that place, because then you are relaxed, because you have the power inside of you. You are relaxed. You have a wider view, you have more perspectives, you have access to all energy in you. There is nothing repressed. And, like through repression of parts of yourself, you also hold yourself back from a lot of your power, a lot of your energy. All of that is freed up and you have such a different way of acting and being in this world. And this creates one opportunity after the other. So if those are not enough reasons for you to work on that energy and really shifting your child energy, which is showing up. And believe me, I guess there will be times, there will be things when it's showing up for sure. I have not met a person where this does not happen at times. So if you feel and if you see where this is happening with you, then there is your work. And it has changed so much for my clients when we do that work, really. Deeper purpose, more relaxation, more money, so much more time, so much more freedom. Like it shifts a lot. It does shift a lot. If you're ready, book a Mindset Mastery assessment with me and uncover where you are still acting out of this boy or girl energy and how to shift back into a state of internal power. For that, just click the link in the show notes and book yourself in. Much love to you and until the next episode. Did you like this podcast episode? Then I would be super, super grateful if you gave me a 5-star rating and review on iTunes. Super helpful. And please subscribe to the podcast and share it with people who you know can benefit from it. You can find all links to my social media profiles, my website, and contact form in the show notes. And whenever you're ready to take a next step, and that means you want to live a life of more on all levels, then send me a message with where you want to go and what is keeping you where you are, like what keeps you stuck at the moment. And then I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you for listening, and until the next episode, much love to you, Lydia.